Welcome back, beautiful, beloved souls. My name is Gem Stone. I'm a psychic medium and I am an author on this channel. You will find I look at anything and everything through a lens, hence the name of the channel. Now, as a psychic medium, I can remote view and I can also channel. And if you would like to learn, I'm offering 2 PDFs with instructions. So stay to the end of the video and we will look at that. All right. Skinwalker Ranch, remote viewing session, portals, archetypes, and the language of the subconscious. I'd like to share a remote viewing session I recently conducted on Skinwalker Ranch. Before I begin, I want to make something clear. This isn't presented as proof of anything. Remote viewing is often subjective, and one of the biggest challenges is separating genuine impressions from symbolism, imagination, prior knowledge, and our own expectations. What fascinates me isn't whether every impression is literally true. What fascinates me is the possibility that information, if it exists beyond our ordinary senses, may not arrive in a neat factual form. Instead, it may arrive as symbols, metaphors, emotions, archetypes, and impressions that our minds then attempt to translate into something we can understand. Imagine trying to explain the internet to someone living in the year 1200. You might describe invisible roads carrying messages through the air. They would probably picture magic. The information may be correct, but the interpretation would be limited by their understanding. Remote viewing may work in a similar way. So with that in mind, let's look at what came through during my session. The very first impressions were vast desert, cattle mutilation, energy, beams, light, static, electromagnetic, portal, satellite, dish, mystery, otherworldly, and Utah. Some of these are obvious associations with Skinwalker Ranch. The ranch is famous for reports of UFOs, mysterious lights, electromagnetic anomalies, strange injuries, cattle mutilations, and unexplained phenomena. But other impressions seem to have developed their own themes as the session progressed. I repeatedly got impressions of energy waves, interference, electromagnetic pulses, and communication signals. I kept feeling that something was transmitting or receiving information. A beacon was one of the words that came to mind. Now, that doesn't necessarily mean there is literally a giant beacon buried under the ranch. It may simply be the subconscious trying to describe a location that attracts attention. A beacon is a symbol of something that calls, attracts, broadcasts, or connects. That is one possibility. Another strong impression involved portals. The words opening, appearance, disappearance, dimensional, wormhole, time bends, and dilation appeared over and over again. Again, I don't know if that should be interpreted literally. Perhaps the symbol of a portal simply represents a place where different realities, ideas, energies, or experiences seem to overlap. Throughout mythology, we find sacred mountains, caves, forests, and islands described as places where normal rules don't seem to apply. Skinwalker Ranch occupies a similar place in modern folklore. Whether one believes the stories or not, it has become a contemporary portal myth. Another recurring theme involved geology and the land itself. I drew a large U-shape resembling a bowl or basin. Then I drew hills surrounding it. Above the area, I perceived a triangular formation, almost like a pyramid of energy focusing over the ranch. Again, was I seeing an actual energy pyramid? Probably not, but perhaps the symbol represents concentration, convergence, or focus. Many ancient cultures viewed pyramids as structures that concentrated power, knowledge, or spiritual significance. The subconscious may use familiar symbols to communicate unfamiliar information. I also kept getting impressions relating to rocks, soil, resonance, magnetism, and underground spaces. Words such as caves, openings, buried, hidden structures, passageways, and depths appeared repeatedly. That fascinated me because it suggests the land itself may be important. Even if every paranormal story associated with Skinwalker Ranch turned out to have a conventional explanation, the geography of the location may still play a role. Some researchers have speculated about geological faults, magnetic anomalies, underground structures, and unusual environmental conditions influencing both technology and human perception. Whether that's the explanation or not, my session seemed far more interested in the landscape than in flying saucers. The earth itself seemed to be the focus. One phrase that appeared in my notes was "Earth sings." I found that interesting. Perhaps it was simply a poetic way of describing resonance. Everything vibrates. Atoms vibrate. Molecules vibrate. Sound vibrates. The earth itself resonates with natural frequencies. Could certain locations amplify those effects? I don't know. But that idea appeared repeatedly through the session. Then things became darker. I started receiving impressions of hostility, fear, torment, predators, hidden creatures, and something that felt ancient and watchful. Now, this is where caution becomes very important. Remote viewers often report emotionally charged imagery. The subconscious frequently converts uncertainty into archetypal characters. A dark forest becomes a monster. An unknown force becomes a demon. A mysterious influence becomes an entity. Carl Jung believed human beings share common archetypes that emerge from the collective unconscious. These archetypes appear in dreams, myths, religions, and stories across cultures. Perhaps remote viewing taps into some of the same symbolic machinery. If that's true, then when a viewer encounters something unknown, the mind may automatically generate archetypal imagery to help make sense of it. A mysterious force becomes a guardian. A dangerous place becomes a dragon. A hidden truth becomes forbidden knowledge. A complex anomaly becomes a portal. An environmental effect becomes an entity. That doesn't make the information false. It simply means the information may be arriving in symbolic language. Think about dreams. If you dream of a tidal wave, it doesn't necessarily mean a literal tsunami is coming. It may represent overwhelming emotions, major life changes, or something building beneath the surface. The symbol communicates a deeper concept. Remote viewing may operate in a similar manner. One of the strangest impressions I received involved a female presence. The words "she protects" appeared. I cannot honestly tell you what that means. Perhaps it means nothing. Perhaps it reflects ancient human tendencies to personify landscapes. Many cultures view mountains, rivers, forests, and even entire regions as living beings. Perhaps my subconscious was simply expressing the idea that the land itself possesses an identity. Again, interpretation remains difficult. Another interesting aspect involved technology. I repeatedly got impressions that technology behaved strangely there. Equipment failures, static, interference, distortion, signals, communication disruptions. This is another theme commonly reported at the ranch. What's interesting is that electromagnetic disturbances, if present, would potentially affect both machines and people. Human beings are biological electrical systems. If unusual electromagnetic conditions exist in a location, it raises fascinating questions about perception, cognition, and experience. Could some experiences be external? Could some be internal? Could some be a combination of both? I think these questions deserve serious investigation. One thing that surprised me was the feeling of being unwelcome. There was a distinct sensation of pushback, resistance, and barrier-like energy. Now, this could be simply my own psychology reacting to the target. Skinwalker Ranch carries a reputation. Even people like me, who know very little about it, often associate it with danger, fear, and mystery. The subconscious absorbs cultural narratives. That influence cannot be ignored. A responsible remote viewer must always consider psychological contamination as a possibility. That said, the sensation was strong enough that I felt it was worth mentioning. As the session continued, I returned repeatedly to ideas involving buried things, buried structures, buried knowledge, buried secrets, buried passages, hidden openings, something beneath the surface. Again, perhaps this should not be interpreted literally. Something buried simply means hidden. Something hidden means unknown. Something unknown means information we haven't yet connected together. The subconscious often speaks in layers. What struck me most about the entire session was not aliens, monsters, or portals. It was the overwhelming sense that location matters. The geography matters. The geology matters. The shape of the land matters. The surrounding hills matter. The rocks matter. The underground spaces matter. The frequencies matter. The resonance matters. Everything seemed to point back towards the landscape itself, almost as if the ranch isn't important because of what is on it. It's important because of where it is. Whether Skinwalker Ranch ultimately turns out to be a genuine paranormal hotspot, an unusual geological location, or a combination of both, or simply a place surrounded by powerful stories, I think it raises powerful questions. How much of reality do we actually perceive? How much information arrives through symbols? How much does the subconscious contribute to our own experiences? And if remote viewing does access genuine information, why does it seem to arrive wrapped in archetypes, metaphors, and dreamlike imagery? Perhaps the subconscious is acting like a translator. Perhaps it converts raw information into a symbolic language we can understand. Or perhaps we're simply storytelling creatures trying to make sense of mystery. Either way, Skinwalker Ranch remains one of the most fascinating modern legends on Earth. And whether the truth ultimately lies in portals, psychology, geology, folklore, or something entirely unexpected, I suspect we are still only scratching the surface. Now, I did a remote viewing session first, and then I went and asked ChatGPT about the Skinwalker Ranch. So I'm going to show you my words. Communication with Earth. And then over the back, here's my drawings. I got that this part of Earth is not like every other part of Earth. It is very special. And I got Earth sings, vibrates, this frequency, focal point of energies, attracts, query, entities, important where it's situated, resonance, rocks, surrounding hills, ancient, reaching into depths, something buried secrets, radioactive passage. And I've got entity, not of normal Earth, she protects. It's a being. It doesn't operate under normal conditions. You get sick. The air is wrong, disturbed. Energies, portal, hollow, cup, basin, ley lines, electromagnetic, forms like a pyramid where energy is focused, shooting, something with the soil, radioactive, unease. And interesting, I wrote about how I felt, freezing cold, my teeth tingle, and the hairs on the back of my neck prickle, uneasy, I'm not wanted, there's a pushback or barrier, plus all these other words. All right, remember, remote viewing at best is you just get pieces of the puzzle. How you remote view is write the date and time of your session, put your target on top, quiet the mind, and the first sensations you write those words down. Don't guess, just write what comes to you. Don't try to make things up. Don't try to invent. All right. Now, as I've said before, if you want to learn, I am offering these 2 PDFs. I'm just trying to make a few dollars. That's my PayPal account. If you are interested in buying, there's my email account. And I welcome emails from you guys. Just drop me a line. It'll take me about 48 hours to reply, but I like to hear from my audience. Thank you for watching. And if you're going to leave a comment, do so respectfully. If only the world was more tolerant, less judgmental, it'd be a better place, wouldn't it? Please be kind to each other. Smile at a stranger. Costs nothing for a smile, and you might just save someone's life. Most of all, take care of yourselves because you matter. You are precious. You are here for a reason. You're special. And I'm just going to show you again my drawings. So I drew that cup, and then I've drawn, that's the triangle over Skinwalker Ranch, where it comes to a focus, a pyramid-like focus. All right, enjoy the rest of your weekend. Love, light, and blessings. Bye.